What's going on, you beautiful human?
Jack. I'm all right, man. I'm beautiful to you?
I think everyone's got their beauty. You know?
All right. It's good to compliment other men. I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like it's anything wrong with that.
No, not at all. Not at all. So what's going on with you, brother?
Nothing much, man. You know, just hanging in there. Hanging in there.
Yeah. Football's doing good for you?
Football is doing great.
Good.
All right. I'm looking. I lost in one of my leagues. I was undefeated, so I'm trying this week to. We'll see after today's Monday game.
We got to get that second trophy in, right?
Exactly.
We got to get the second trophy in.
Oh yeah, that would be nice. More junk, as Dom says, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anything that pisses her
junk
off, I enjoy doing.
Yeah, we need some. Honestly,
I'll
if
paint the house every day if I had to a different color if it just pissed her off.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think guys have a whole lot of junk. I think compared
it's possession,
to women,
pride, possession, man.
Yeah, but what do
You
we
have
got?
a million
we got our
sweaters.
PlayStations.
I have 2 trophies.
Exactly.
You have 500 pairs of shoes. I have 1 pair of jeans that I keep out. That's it.
Yeah.
But what's up with you? Any new projects in the back?
Yeah. I mean, I got some. I need something to continue to enjoy my palm trees and sunshine. You know what I mean? I want my outside to be just as comfortable as my inside.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a pile of bricks, and I want to make a nice guinea kitchen outside.
Oh, the brick oven, huh?
The brick oven,
man,
charcoal grill. But I'm talking about hooked up. I might even put a sink in it just to.
Yeah, why not? I mean, might as well. So we can officially say that you're never coming back to New York because once a guinea puts a brick oven in their backyard, they live there until they're buried 6 feet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can put the mausoleum right next to it.
I really thought there would have been a chance you were going to come back to New York and surprise me.
I'd have to fake it with everybody else and just keep up this life in California, but only online.
You might even live upstate for all I know. I don't even know. Maybe you didn't tell me.
No, look at this background. There's no way.
Yeah. The desert. Why don't you get some cactuses out there, no?
We have cactus.
In your backyard?
Oh, no, not in my backyard.
Put a cactus and run into it once in a while.
The only cactus I'm going to put back there is one that I can eat the fruit off of. There's cactus that have fruit. So good.
Dragon fruit? No, I don't know.
Oh, there's that. Yeah. There's dragon fruit. There's also some other shit called prickly pear or fico d'India, figs of India. No, but they're really good, man. So it's Halloween season, or at least getting around there.
We are approaching Halloween.
It's getting a little chilly. It's 80 degrees.
Yeah. Do you decorate for Halloween?
I do now that I own my own house. Once upon a time, I remember my parents would put like 4 window stickers up and fucking
yeah, right. The 4 jelly window stickers. My mom would just buy 1 pumpkin. That was it. A $7 pumpkin from Seatown. Boom.
Yeah.
And even for Christmas, it was on the way out. It was just be a wreath.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know if we were Jewish, Christian, Catholic. You would have no idea what the hell we were.
Yeah, no, but now I'm not going to say I do it as big as some of the people around here because some people spend a lot of time and a lot of money. No,
it's just another sickness.
They're getting crazy. Yeah. It is another
Some
sickness.
People are into fantasy football. Some people are into spending $20,000 in front of their house.
Yeah.
There was a house when I used to live in Whitestone that would be on the news every year. It was right off of Francis Lewis Boulevard. I think it was like 163rd Street or 163rd Road. Don't quote me. But this house was like on the corner and the news would always be there. I mean, the guy dropped money.
Money, like real money.
And it was amazing. Just the outside.
Yeah, but imagine spending that much money just to have people look at your house. Like, there's no return on it.
Some sugar daddy spent all that money on a woman that doesn't even bang them. So there's no return on that either.
I guess. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's a very good way to put it. I guess. I don't know. But they're getting really... So, the toy store, Home Depot?
The men's toy store, yeah.
The men's toy store. So they're getting crazy. And this is not like me coming out for, we're not, whatchamacallit.
Sponsored.
They're not giving us money. We're not sponsored by anybody. But Home Depot's getting they have like crazy 15-foot giant skeletons and shit that are like meant to hug your house.
A little Halloween spirit in there. Trying to make some more money.
They're crazy. Lots of stuff. I can't even bring my kids in there anymore. The last time, and my kids are very well behaved, but if you can imagine walking through the store and then all of a sudden hear the screech of someone getting their arm cut off, and it's just your kids afraid of decorations.
Yeah.
And you're just in the middle of the store freaking out like, what? And they're, it's slightly embarrassing, but then you start laughing. And when the crying doesn't stop, then you're like, all right, time to leave.
Yeah.
So
you have any plans on what you want to do? Costume wise?
I have it. It's still a toss up because the costume is relatively easy and they're also interchangeable. So it's either I shave and I go as a baby with a diaper.
Like a big baby?
Like a big baby, yeah. And I'll have, I don't know.
When you say shave, you got to shave the beard and everything? You
everything.
I'll
go full. I want no hair on my body to look like a baby.
Okay.
Right?
I can picture you doing that too.
I'm telling you, binky and everything. Either that or a sumo wrestler.
Oh.
Yeah, for that I have to tape my eyes though.
Oh. Yeah, and I mean, you just do yourself. You're just wearing, like, you gotta actually buy the sumo, like the costume where you blow it up with the air, or you just gonna put on
I'm just gonna tie a towel.
So you're gonna do a traditional
balls.
Yeah
fucking
shot. We should do like a poll, what people think. I'll put it on. Yeah, I'll put it on. And then between me, I don't know where I came up with these things. I'm trying to get away from the makeup world because I did Uncle Festa last year. Like the dead.
You did whiteface?
Yeah, and the whiteface wasn't good because the shit started melting and the bald cap was cutting circulation off in my head. And it just, the only thing good about that costume was the light bulb I maneuvered. But I'm going to go between Salt Bay, which is the guy that... I think his name is like Nursik. He puts the salt on the steak because
the steak guy.
Yeah, the steak guy. I could be holding like a fake piece of carcass, slap it around every once in a while, and just go, and then just go, wow, you know, or
that juicy.
Yeah. Or I was thinking of just being a monk, just shave my head, see how that's gonna look like, and then just be quiet the whole night. Because it's probably, when's Halloween? On a Sunday? Yeah, so I could be a monk and I could watch football while everyone's having fun. Because it's football season.
Yeah, just grab a robe, tie a rope around the waist, shave like just the middle of your head and leave the like uncle hair.
Like a traditional gentleman's cut, right?
Yeah, the gentleman's
Didn't you do that one time? No? Or you thought about it?
I got it growing in unintentionally like that, so.
Well, today is an interview day. Finally, it's been a while. Last person we interviewed was John Austin. So
yeah,
and we have another female, which is great because we don't really have a lot of females coming on. But yeah, so we're gonna end this and we're gonna get into our interview where we have a special guest who's coming in. She's gonna explain her near-death experience. This will be a treat. So we're gonna bring her in and we'll be right back.
Let's do this.
For more content and behind the scenes, visit us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at UnFollowVic. Enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Sedona Dawn, author of Busting Through to Heaven, and I will be joining you as a guest on the UnFollowVic Podcast.
All right, so and we're back, and we have our guest in the studio. So Jack, take it away.
Our guest today is a former exotic dancer who was also an author of her very own book, Busting Through Heaven. She has experienced hell on earth and almost went to heaven during a near-death experience. And we are grateful to have her on our show today. Welcome, Miss Sedona Dawn.
Welcome, Sedona.
Hi.
Hello. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I mean, first off, definitely thank you for joining us, because usually when we do our interviews, I'm never on a full tilt. you know, with this near-death experience, you know, it's something we don't commonly get. So I'm pleasant to have you, and I thank you for joining us. Welcome to the UnFollowVic show.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Okay. Yeah, so before we get into your book, I would like to know you for as you growing up. Do you remember any moments that were happiness before your life turned into like this escape room? Like, were there any happy moments, birthdays, holidays?
Yeah, there were a lot of happy moments. I feel like the neighborhood I grew up in was pretty ideal for bringing up a family because it was in the Philadelphia suburbs. It was a brand new neighborhood. I think in the late 60s or early 70s. And I knew
Philly in the house.
What's that?
Philly in the house, anyone? No.
Yeah. This was in Bucks County, PA. And it's sort of, when I was growing up there, it was more like of a suburban / rural place. You know, there were fields behind my house, and I used to go out into the fields and play in the creeks and in the woods with the animals and the snakes and the turtles and stuff. And
nice.
I had good memories of school. Like, I did well in school.
Like your high school years, we're talking?
We're talking more like my early childhood.
Okay.
Like kindergarten, first grade. Like there were happy moments, like birthdays and holidays. Sometimes when you grow up in a family like mine, with a narcissist as a parent or parents, birthdays and holidays tend to get marred a little bit because they can't let a holiday be a holiday.
Yeah, exactly.
But just general stuff, like just going out with like when I was 14, I'd go out with my friends. I would be out of the house all day. I would go out with my friends and we'd, you know, drive around the neighborhood looking at Christmas lights. I'd be like 14 years old hanging out with older people, and we'd all be getting stoned in the car, like driving around looking at the lights. That was the norm.
I don't think kids experience that at all nowadays. I think they're more just stay home video games, social media,
in their phones.
Yeah, but they were good memories. So, I mean, I had a lot of friends growing up.
Yeah. What about siblings? You had siblings or?
Siblings. I have a brother, you're younger, a twin sister, and then my older sister who ran away.
Yeah. And then she was referred as the big sis, right?
Yeah. I refer to her as Big Sis in my book. And I was 5 when she ran away. She was about 15 or 16 when she ran away.
And then,
but it was a great neighborhood though, where I grew up. I mean, it was just like, you had like a huge backyard, land around your house, you know, behind the houses were a bunch of like fields and woods, you know, where people would go back there and just do whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I knew all the neighbors on my street. I had a lot of friends to play with. We were usually outside playing in the street because it was really like a family oriented neighborhood. So, and I knew all the neighbors and I knew a lot of the kids. So
I was going to say, so everybody kind of knew everybody. It wasn't
like it is now.
Like now. Exactly. Yeah. Where everyone, I'm pretty sure my next door neighbor's name, I'm pretty sure of it, Frank. But I'm not 100% sure of it. Yeah. It could be it's Mario or Frank. One of the two, 50-50.
And then how was like your high school years? Was it normal for you? Were you like always like the attractive one that made other girls jealous? Were you the popular one or?
Oh God, I was a hippie, like a full on. I walked around with like watermelon sweaters and like Birkenstocks, and like I was kind of a geek too. But at the same time, like there were girls who hated me because I'd date somebody they like, or you know, and then they'd make up rumors about me and stuff like that. And I wasn't. I mean, like I was following the Grateful Dead starting at 18. You know what I mean? Like
Jerry Garcia. Yeah.
I was kind of hippied out, but at the same time, I mean, I was cute little hippie. But, you know, my high school years, like I went to Catholic school for 9th grade at an all girls school. And I mean, after that, I was like, you know, this was after like almost 9 years of Catholic school. I bailed and went to public school for my 10th grade class. And as soon as I transferred to public school, I was in this, you know, I was in the principal's office, like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just rebelled. All hell broke loose when I moved to the public school.
What about in the Catholic school? Did you get a lot of the banging with the, what do you call that? The ruler? A lot of slaps?
No, I didn't get any rule. They didn't hurt the girls. They hurt the boys. They would grab the boys by the, like, throughout my years of Catholic school, like they would yell at the girls, but they would manhandle the boys and grab them by the ties and like jerk them around and stuff like that. And my 9th year of Catholic school, it was like I had a perfect conduct record all through Catholic school. Yeah. And then after the 1 year at the girls' school, I couldn't take it because I was a little boy crazy at the time. So then I transferred out to public school the next year, and all hell broke loose. And there were like good-looking guys everywhere.
Yeah.
I could wear my own clothes. Like, it was just so nice just being me, you know, not in a uniform, like this green uniform that I had to wear for like 9 years, you know. So it was nice to have this freedom to like my identity and who it is that I wanted to be. And you know, and I had a cool group of girlfriends, and, you know, we'd go out and like steal alcohol and hide behind the strip mall and drink, you know, just do stuff like that.
Yeah. So it's clear to say you weren't the quiet, you were the rebel kid growing up.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. I was the rebel kid. Yeah. I didn't conform. That was my thing. Exactly. I didn't, as far as my family went, you know, my friends always said, like, you stand out from them. Like, it looks like you don't belong with them. Mm-hmm. Like, you have a whole different energy than they do. Right. And it's like, you know, my whole thing was, you know, when I would go out and rebel, I would go out and have me some fun because they were against that. So I would go out and have fun.
So don't be strict parents is my note that I'm taking this.
Don't be asshole parents.
Don't be asshole. Yeah. Well, I'm not a parent. Jack's actually a parent of a few kids.
Yeah.
Some kids he doesn't know who, but, you know, I'm joking.
Yeah.
But so yeah, you're busting curfew. Is this where you, like, in your adolescent age, started picking up, like, you know, the experiment with the drugs and the alcohol? You know how kids are. We all experiment, like taking maybe like a little sip of dad's beer that's in the fridge.
I plead the fifth.
Jack pleads the fifth.
Nah, definitely.
I think I was 13 when I started reading. My parents drank a lot, and I think I was 13 when I started like dabbling. And then by the time I was 14, it was like, you know, all of us were, you know, going out with stolen alcohol. And
yeah, it was the cool thing to do, right?
It was fun.
Yeah. And I mean, you being brought up where you were, I mean, there wasn't like, was there a lot of things to do, like movie theaters, go-karts and stuff like that? Or it was just like the natural 7-Eleven, pull behind there and just have fun, good time, listen to music type shit?
I used to take my camcorder and create these videos when I was a teenager with my friends and me, the things that we would do. And we'd be at the 7-Eleven or the bowling alley or the skating rink. And everyone would ask me the same question, like, why are you filming this? And I would tell them the same thing, like, because in 20 years we can watch this and laugh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You were thinking,
we still have those.
Yeah,
you were thinking for the future.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, there's not a lot to do. There wasn't a lot to do for teenagers, you know, in Bucks County, but we would just drive around and just, I mean, they had the swim club. I used to hang out at a pool hall a lot. Mm-hmm. There's this place called Billiards. My friends and I would go, and we would just, you know, go in the back alley and smoke weed or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was, you know, I don't know. I was gonna say, like, there's a lot more fun stuff for teenagers to do where I live now than where I lived growing up.
Mm-hmm. And then, so, like, obviously growing up, you know, Jack read the book and he's giving me these notes, and like, was your father always the way he was as you were a child, or progressively gotten worse?
He was always like that. He was always like extremely temperamental. Like, if there were times I didn't even do anything wrong, and he would find a reason to bang on my door like a Neanderthal and like just barge in. I had never had any privacy in the house. Mm-hmm. He would just go into these like rages, like these narcissistic, his anger would get the best of him, and he would fly into these like narcissistic rages. Yeah. Where, you know, it was like, you know, he was doing it from a place of wanting to control me as opposed from a place of wanting to love me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, because you would think a father is like this knight in shining armor that's going to give his baby girl a rose and protect you and all that. And meanwhile, the narcissistic took over his life. Now, was he like also a drinker, or this was just more towards the mental issues?
I think what happened with him is that his father was my grandfather, he was abusive.
Okay.
And he abused his kids. My grandmom didn't do anything to stop it. She was afraid of him and
it's a cycle.
depending on him for survival and being codependent. And he grew up thinking that this was normal. And I think the reason why he had children was to resolve some sort of situation he had within himself. And that's really a bad reason to have a kid, because you can't expect your kids to fix your emotional issues.
Exactly.
And that's, I think, what he was doing. And when he would do things that were messed up, I would be the one to say, that's not nice or that's not okay. And I would call it out. And that's what put the target on my back. Whereas with my brother, my twin sister, and my brother, they would comply.
Yeah.
Especially my twin sister. She would kind of be like his little minion.
You had a twin?
Yeah, I have a twin. Yeah, I haven't talked to her since 2006 because she grew up to be like him. And I was, out of self-respect, I had to say, if you're not going to change, if this isn't going to stop, I have to go no contact on you.
Exactly.
And
right.
Once you do that to a narcissist, they'll turn around and then they'll start what's called a smear campaign against you and spread all lies, half-truths, misinformation to turn everyone against you. So that this way you have no support from anyone, including people who used to be your friends. Yeah. Because the lies that they spread about you always include a little bit of truth, like a little grain of truth, so the lie becomes more believable.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they'll spread that and then smear your name. My older sister was the one who was the empathetic one who cared about me, and she's the one who ran away. So the only person who really gave a crap about me was the one who had to run away for her own survival. So I don't blame her at all.
And that's Big Sis. And she was, so we were reading, and I'm trying to get this connected. Was she adopted by your parents, or so she had an abusive parent? Meanwhile, now she gets adopted by your family, and she probably thinks she's going to Disney World, where in actuality, that's not the case.
She got a double whammy of abuse.
Okay.
And I can't imagine what her life must have been like and what kind of trust issues she has with people.
Yeah.
And I don't blame her, honestly. Like, I can only, I found out some information about her over the years, like, and I just can't imagine the kind of life she must have lived.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask you that question later towards the end, if it wasn't brought up, if you had been in or had any contact with Big Sis, because I feel like that's a relationship that would make me feel better if you guys were, in contact with each other. I definitely think you guys would still get along to today.
I think so too. I just feel that, given the trust issues I have, I can't imagine what she goes through.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then it's like a lot of people have been like, why don't you just Facebook her? And it's like, yeah, well, I found her on Facebook, but you can't just Facebook somebody after not seeing them for 40 years because you don't want to freak them out. You know what I mean? So
you don't want to, but can you at least make an attempt? Because, you don't want to be like, oh shit, I should have done that.
Yeah.
What I did was,
regret.
I was on genealogy.com a couple years ago, and I had posted some things on there, and Big Sis's friend, I guess she replied to one of my posts. So I had her information. So I found Big Sis's friend on Facebook, and I Facebooked her since she already reached out to me. I figured, okay, well, if she already reached out to me a few years ago, I'm sure she wouldn't mind if I reached out to her. So now I feel ready to. Right. So I contacted Big Sis's friend, and I didn't hear back. I didn't get a reply, but I didn't really expect one either. Right. And that's part of the reason why I wrote the book, is to get it out there in hopes that she'll, I'd like to tell Big Sis's friend about the book too. So that Big Sis knows for a fact that I'm not with them. Because her thing is probably like, little sis is coming back and she wants to reunite. Well, how do I know she's not abusive like the other ones are? That's what's going through her head. And that's why I put the book out, to show her, in no uncertain terms, I'm on her side and I'm not with them.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe she's an UnFollowVic fan.
Yeah, maybe she'll listen to it. So
that'd be cool. She was.
Yeah, right. Are you a strong believer in where everything happens for a reason? Because I feel like things happen, and now you seem like you're in a good state of mind. I mean, I know you had all the stuff that happened and could cause trauma and all, but I do believe you did well for yourself afterwards.
I I saw during my near-death experience, like when I was reviewing my life, when I looked back, all I kept thinking was, so that's why this happened. That's why this happened. That's why this happened. That's why this happened. And that's why I thought, oh my God, everything happens for a reason, you know, because you look back in your life and you see it totally, like they always say that hindsight is 20/20. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened when I went into my life review and just sort of, you know, started way back at the beginning and just went forward. So I think everything does happen for a reason, but I know a lot of people don't like hearing that, or they can't stand that.
They seem like it's very cliche.
It absolves you from responsibility. Yeah, they're like, well, it absolves you from responsibility, and I say, well, not really, because you're still responsible for what you do in this world. You're still going to be held accountable for it.
Yeah, and what drives me nuts is, I mean, you're young when you're going through all this. I mean, your father was abusive. He, you know, was he prostituted you? Do I got that correct?
Yeah, 2 of his buddies.
That shit's crazy. Like, who would? Yeah. You would never think a father would ever do that. Like, was there a time, like, in your life you're like, I just don't even want to be existent anymore? Like, did you have any suicidal thoughts growing up? Or
I was 14. I kept a diary since I was 8 years old. My aunt gave me a diary, and I didn't realize that this diary that I wrote in my whole life was actually documenting abuse. So I have it written in my diary pages of like times where I wanted to die. Like I was 14 years old. And I wanted to jump off a cliff near my high school. I was about 14 or 15 when I developed anorexia. I'm about 5'3". I went down to 98 pounds. You know, my aunt even said something to my mom about it. Like, oh, is she eating? Because she's really skinny. My mom's like, oh, yeah, she's eating. Yeah. Like in denial, not pretending not to notice, you know. Right. Not with the problem. Like that was, you know, part of the dysfunction in my family right there. So yeah, like
it doesn't exist as long as I don't see it.
What's that?
It doesn't exist. It's not a problem if I don't see it. Right.
Not to exactly. Yeah.
And was your mom part of the problem, or your mom was more of the old school, not going to say anything? Father says this, father does that. That's what father does.
She's part of the problem. I mean, what kind of mother
would allow that? Yeah.
Mom, dad's raping me, and like, you know, his friends are doing the same to me. I just ignore it. He's your father. And then she has the audacity. When my sister told my mother, she has the audacity to call my older sister a homewrecker.
Oh my God.
What kind of mom calls her daughter a homewrecker after getting raped by the, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And you guys are adolescent. You don't know better.
We never got along. Yeah. I'll tell you. Hey. I wanted to get along, you know, but she, not after doing that. Like, I just couldn't. I knew even when I was little that something wrong happened, but I was brainwashed into thinking that my older sister was the bad guy. Because remember how I said that once the survivor calls out the abuse, the narcissist turn everything out on the victim and say, she's the homewrecker, she's the problem. She did it, not the abuser.
Yeah, right. Well, the abuser never will take partay in anything. It's always the other person's fault.
Right.
Exactly.
And he, like your big sis, tried to run away, and he came out with a loaded what? He had a handgun, shotgun.
He had rifles. He was a hunter, so I don't really remember what kind of guns he had. I never really wanted anything to do with them. And he would bring them out to clean them and stuff, and that would always make me nervous and stuff. I just never liked being around his gun collection. He was the wrong person to, you know, give a gun to, basically. But he had a loaded gun. She threatened to run away, and he had a loaded gun, and he threatened all of us with it.
Yeah, not just her, all of you.
Right.
Like, and trying to set an example.
Exactly. Like, you know, if any of you disobey me, this is what you're going to get.
Jesus.
That's why I hate guns, because you put guns in his hands, you know, he's going to use it, you know, oh, well, you know, he forced me into situations I didn't want to be in with, you know, those guns. I mean, there are certain people who really should not own them, and he was one of them.
And he was one, yeah.
Agreed.
But so now we're going into a world where you're growing up, you're deciding what to do. And was being an exotic dancer a first job for you, or
No. I had worked as a server, bartender. I worked a brief stint in advertising. Let's see, I worked as a tour guide. I had all kinds of jobs, mostly in retail or in restaurants. And I never even thought I would be, a dancer. Like, that's not something that ever crossed my mind, because, it's just, I wanted to come out to the West Coast and be an entertainer of some sort. I was getting into acting. I studied acting. I learned how to do some screenwriting. I'm still learning screenwriting. It's a process.
Oh, but, I can only imagine. Yeah.
But and then I also work as a production assistant on film sets out here when they're shooting. But
nice. That's good.
A lot since that COVID. Yeah, I've been. I have an actor's resume. I have my production assistant resume. I'm just trying to get more work on film sets, like doing work in front of the camera and behind the camera, and because that's the whole reason why I came out here in the first place, was to either get a job in advertising or in film production. So
and that's pretty much where you're gonna figure out all that. That's where you're gonna get your hands on, I would assume.
Yeah, so I got some experience out here, so that's good, But no, I never thought about being a dancer until like it just got down the wire, where I was like, I've got this young kid. I was with his dad. His dad didn't really he never gave me a red cent of support at all, and it's like his whole attitude was, your bills are on you, and I'm like, all right, that's great. So
yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll just get and I got the job, went in there, and I needed money.
Yeah.
And I needed a legal, and not anything shady or dangerous or illegal.
Yeah. And this was like a new way to like create the path with, kind of like making money. 'Cause you said you were self-taught and all that. So were you good at dancing prior to this as like a young child? Like you always danced around? Because you seem like a little goofball. I'm not gonna lie. You were out there just living life, having fun.
I took dance lessons. I took ballet and tap until I was about 4 or 5 or so. But when I first started dancing, I was horrible at it. Customers, I think there were
Hold on, you're coming in.
Who even came in and they were watching me. They're like, and I guess it had been a few months since they saw me, and they're like, you're getting a lot. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, we're delayed a little bit. No, you were coming in a little muffled because of the Wi-Fi connection. If you want to just go back and explain that, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I remember dancing in the club. Like maybe I was 4 months into it, and these 2 customers approached me, and they're like, yeah. We remember when you first started, we didn't think you'd last a week. I was like, oh, thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for the support, Dick.
But now, and then it just, I just kept at it, and then it turned into a 15-year career where I was doing pole tricks and all kinds of stuff. And
it's almost like being an acrobat.
Yeah. I'm really,
that's just got to be tough. Bad. You got to be all upper body strength, no?
Yeah.
Legs too.
You have to, do it every day. And
you're like a gymnast for the nightclub.
Just becomes second nature. Yeah. I had a pretty active set. Like I was doing backward somersaults and pole tricks and upside down stuff. And
at what age did you start your first gig?
I think I started dancing when I was 31, and then I retired at 46 when the pandemic hit.
Oh, okay. So that you retired recently.
Recently, yeah.
Yeah,
but it was fun. It was a great way to stay in shape too. I wish I had a pole still, because I wouldn't mind
we'll start a GoFundMe.
My workout.
Yeah, we'll get you a pole.
Yay!
Now,
my birthday's coming up, so that'd be awesome.
Well, when's your birthday?
And I'm getting a new place.
Nice.
October 8th. Yeah.
Nice.
Because I have my shoes still. I didn't get rid of them. I still have them, so I can put those on and
the clear heels.
Clear.
Yes.
Yes.
8-inch. I show them to you. They're out in the trunk of my car, though.
Missed opportunities.
Oh, you're on call.
I can pull it out there real quick. No, they're 8.5-inch clear, and I got clear because they match everything. So
right.
Yeah.
I have black ones too, though.
So you start at an age. Now, when you go to the club, are the other dancers, like the veterans, because you're like the rookie. Are they coming at you with open arms, or did you have to kind of earn their respect in a way?
Exactly what you said. They don't come at you with open arms, and yet you have to earn their respect. And they did teach me a lot by working there. I just kind of, I did try to introduce myself to one of them, and she wasn't having it. So then I was like, all right, well, I guess I think what I learned is that they want to get to know you first before they even get involved with you. They want to see how you work. They want to see if you respect people's, business and stuff like that. They just want to make sure that because there's so many, there were so many girls in that business when I look back who were just like, oh, I could tell when someone wasn't going to last a week just from her whole vibe, But it was really intimidating, when I first went in there, because it's like I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know how to do hair or makeup or dance or do anything. But you learn real fast just by watching. So.
And then, I gotta ask, because, the UnFollowVic show, we like a little bit of comedy. Now you gotta walk me through some of the weirdos you meet during these experiences without meeting the weirdo we're gonna bring on. But, I want to hear, during your experience, what are these guys saying? I can only imagine.
Oh my God. Okay.
I'll leave you for my wife right now. Just tell me, baby.
Yeah.
That's a popular one.
I imagine.
Okay, well, the best ones in the club always got a nickname. If you got a nickname, then consider yourself a
regular.
Special. Yeah. We had a guy. Oh God, this is gross. We had a guy named Poopy Guy.
Oh God.
Already
I never took my tips from Poopy Guy. I always told Poopy Guy he could just save his dollars. I just walked by him. I never dealt with Poopy Guy, but he would actually pay girls $500 for Tupperware.
What do you mean?
And he would give the girls a Tupperware container,
and they would fill it.
Go back to the bathroom and bring back. Yeah.
Wow.
And he gave him $500.
I mean, $500. Shit.
And I don't know what he did with it, and it's really not my business, and I don't care. But I never dealt with Poopy Guy.
He never told you to shit on his chest or anything?
Oh God, I didn't talk to him.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm staying away from that one.
That's
then
crazy.
There's this other guy. There's this other guy. We all called him Dirty Doug. And Dirty Doug, here's this guy who, otherwise normal looking guy, has his business, his palm tree business out here or whatever. He came into the club, and he would sit there at the tip rail with his beer. And then, every time you walked over to him for a tip, he would just whisper this litany of sexual dribble in your ear. And it was if the girl didn't know what she was getting into, I always would watch the girl's face when he would motion for her to come and listen, and he would whisper stuff in her ear, and I would always watch her face.
That's
nice.
And I would walk up to the girl and be like, yeah, was that fun? Just the kind of stuff they do. He'd stick dollars in you everywhere and just keep going with it. Right. And one girl told me, she's like, some of the stuff that Dirty Doug says is really gross, but it would be really hot with the right guy.
Yeah, exactly. Right. See, that's the thing I don't get. What I don't get is okay, so your job is pretty straightforward. You're there to dance, you're there to make money, and yes, you do have to play a role to try to engage in people. But I think people, they have these shitty worlds they live in, these horrible marriages, or never even had a girlfriend, and they go in there thinking if I just become a regular, she's got to come on to me eventually. But that's not the case. I mean, it's an entertainment business. You're there to make money. They're there to drown their memories. But some people, I think, take it too far.
They get lost in the fantasy a little bit. I've had a few of those where they, I just want to ask them, do you go to Disneyland and expect Minnie Mouse to come home and be a nanny to your kids? There's the point where
it's not.
They can get a little bit out there with it. Yeah. I think what they do is that they come in and think, if I spend enough money, it's sort of like a down payment for
it's like a mortgage.
Right.
Exactly. Whereas in the dancer's mind, you give me, $100 for 5 lap dances. Okay. That was payment for rent services rendered, I owe you nothing more.
Exactly.
Right.
So, some of them think that because they spend X amount of dollars, and then it's like a down payment to get the girl out with them.
Yeah. Did you enjoy your whole time as being an exotic dancer? Did you learn a lot? I mean, now that you're writing a little bit and trying to get scripts, I'm sure you can get some stories. I mean, I don't know which type of writing you're going into, more of the comedy or more action, serious, romance, but I'm sure you could definitely write about a little bit of that.
Yeah, I think all the above.
This book should be a movie.
Thank you.
No, I mean, it would be a great movie too. Like if you could manage to find a director that understands your vision of what it's like and really put that on a screen, what your NDE experience was, both experiences, I suppose. That'd be fantastic. I don't even know how they would do it.
Sedona, if you did get this movie title, who would play you in a part?
Oh my God. First of all, I want to say thank you for reading the book. And I'm really glad you liked it. During the near-death experience, God actually told me who the director-producer would be. So I know exactly who it's going to be.
Nice.
I hope and pray that we're still on for it.
Right.
We'll keep that.
No, that.
I'm a big believer where if you start saying things don't go your way. So I want you to hold that. And if it ever comes out, then you know what it is.
I don't want to say who the director is going to be, but I just in case I prepared by studying his filmography, watched every one of his films. He's a very accomplished director. And it's like when you take, these certain factors, like you have a girl from Philly who grew up to be a stripper because, of what she went through a lot with her family. And this is what, having no family, it's just, you're going to wind up dancing and stuff like that.
Already all the guys are going to see this movie.
8-inch clear heels,
8-inch, yeah.
I've only seen 6-inch. I got to see the 8.
If I could choose somebody to play me, God. Okay, well, we'd have to pick someone that guys like. So I would say Margot Robbie, but she would have to wear brown contacts, and she likes being a brunette too.
Yeah.
So I would have her have her hair brown, brunette, like a really, like not like a mousy brown, like a really sexy, like rich bitch brown.
Yeah, and she's an amazing actress
chocolate.
too. So
give her some brown contacts, and I watched her in the Tanya Harding movie that she did. And she was amazing at figure skating. And I thought to myself, I'm like, she would be really good because if she can learn figure skating, she could easily, learn pole dancing over time.
Yeah. And I'm sure she maybe has a pole in her house where she just, it's an exercise too. People don't realize that, but you're exercising your upper core. Your core and your upper body and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Big time.
Yeah. CrossFit might pick up on that.
She worked out too. I had to work out additionally to doing pole tricks. I had to go to the gym in the morning and do weight training.
You want to make the big bucks? Yeah, you got to look it too.
Yoga helps. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not trying to crack a joke, but when we got in contact with each other in email, at first I was like, this has got to be like some 300-pound girl with a crazy imagination. But you know what I mean? But no, Jack got the book. Now we're meeting. Now we're talking.
I think a lot of people, when they hear me talk about this, they kind of wonder, okay, is this girl really okay? Like, did she really see all of this? Was any of this just a dream? And I can assure people, like, I'm of sound mind. Just some really crazy stuff happened to me. And that's what I wanted to share.
And it definitely, you're not crazy. Don't think that. And it's just some people have different scripted stories in their life. So
I guess
that's the life you're living right now. But I'm glad you're here to talk about it. So
thank you. Yeah, thanks. I just felt like, at the time when I had the near death, when I was out of body, I didn't feel ready to go. I had stuff I had to do.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I had these thoughts, like I came back. So
might as well get into it now. So, April begins. And, when you think of April, because, I'm born in April, you got the spring, the flowers blooming and all that. Was it a normal week leading up to that Saturday, April 8th? Was it just an everyday thing? Or did, you had that gut feeling like something's not right? Something is going to happen.
Okay, so here's what happened the week leading up to the near-death experience. I had been working at the club. Let's see, at that point, it had been about a year and a half, I would say. I started December 2004. And then I met a customer named Ken.
Okay.
And started dating him in August of 2005. And that was shortly after I ended things with my ex, with my son's dad.
He's your son's dad, yeah.
Yeah, well, there's my son's dad. I left him, and then I started dating Ken from the club.
Right.
And then I moved into my apartment of October or September. No, it was October, November of 2005. And then shortly before I moved into my apartment was when I started getting visits from a customer named Derek.
Mm-hmm. Became a regular.
Yeah. Derek started coming in shortly after I started seeing Ken.
Right.
Okay. Ken was this guy who was a wealthy man, very handsome.
Was he a regular?
He was a regular. He told me he was divorced with 3 kids and that he had moved out of his house into another home clear across the other side of the county.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I was dating Ken, I'm like, okay, well, he's, we're new, we're out of our old relationships. We're dating new people.
Yeah,
whatever.
you guys are like, you have the same rapport. Like you're out of a relationship, he's out of a relationship, blah, blah, blah. So.
Well, we wanted to be happy.
Exactly.
So he was a nice person. He had a sense of humor. I mean, I didn't detect anything weird about him. So after I started dating Ken, that's when another customer of mine named Derek started coming in. And Derek started coming in a lot. And when he started coming in, there were 3 girls who would come in with him. And they were dancers. So
they were dancers from your club or from another club?
I don't know where they came from, but they started dancing at the club once Derek started coming in. They all started coming in around the same time. I didn't know if they knew each other or not. It's just something that happened. Like Derek started showing up, and then we hired 3 new girls around that same time.
Mm-hmm.
Girls' names were Jenna, Jules, and Christina. And Jenna and Jules and Christina, they knew Derek, after they were coming in a lot, like from, I guess, maybe August, September 2005. And as time went on, Derek would come in and say things to me like, oh, you're so beautiful and you're the only girl I come in here for. You're the only one I'm interested in. And and the girls, those 3 girls would say things to me like, oh, you should go out with Derek. He pays you so much money. You should go out with him. And I told them, I'm like, I don't want to go out with Derek. He's married, and even if he wasn't married, I don't want to go out with him. I don't date customers unless, they're like, oh, but he pays you so much. You could make so much money if you went out with him. And I told them, I'm like, I make enough money from him just seeing him in here. And besides, I don't want to cheat on Ken.
Right.
Exactly. I don't want to date customers behind Ken's back because I know my job is hard on a guy. And, Ken and I just started seeing each other, and I want to build a relationship where he can trust me because I don't want him getting upset with my job. I know that it could cause a lot of fights, having a job like mine. So these girls were trying to get me to date, Derek. I kept saying no. This scenario kept going on for a good 6 months, well into April of 2006. So fast forward to April 2006, Jules and I, one of the girls, we were giving Derek a 2-girl dance in one of the booths. And I think it was sometime during the first week of April. And Derek came in, and Jules and I went in the booth with him, and he was really drunk and getting violent. Like he kept grabbing me if I was sitting next to him and flinging me off. And he would take Jules, who was standing up, and pulling her down. Mm-hmm. Like he was just sort of drunkenly flinging us. And I think he spanked me hard. Mm-hmm. We ended the dance. We got our money. Jules and I went back to the dressing room. We're talking. And I said to her, I'm like, did you notice how violent Derek was being? And she's like, oh no, he's in love with you. He's just really drunk, just ignore it. And I was no, I'm like, this is really weird because Derek's been coming into every one of my shifts, and giving me a lot of money and trying to get me out to go out with him.
It's
and
almost
he's
like
getting
stalking.
Yeah, he's exactly.
And what's weird is, I don't mean to stop you. It's like, all right, so Derek brings these girls, and these girls are like,
he didn't bring the girls. They all just.
Oh, okay, because it almost sounded like she was like defending him, like, oh, well, that's just how he is, which is like almost bringing back the childhood where your mom would be like, well, just listen to him type thing.
Exactly. You see, okay, I'm so glad you say that, because now you can see how important it is for parents to be good to their children. So they set up healthy templates for their child to carry throughout their lives. You see that?
Yeah.
Right.
You see what my parents did played out in my life. Now you guys are seeing it. So that's a really, and including with, well, I'll get to Karen and Ken later, but that's why it's important for parents to be good to your children, to be respectful and teach them right, so that they're not going out into the world and replaying these relationship templates with other people.
Exactly.
That's how a bad parent F's up your kid's life, basically.
All right. So now you're done with the lap dance. You're with Jules in the dressing room, we call it. Well, what's the actual term for that?
Yeah.
The green room.
The green room, and then
yeah.
So you're explaining like, hey, what the hell is wrong with this guy Derek? He just,
Yeah, and Christina turns around and she says, "Stalker," like she's trying to warn me or something like that. And I was like, oh my God. And I got a really bad feeling in my stomach. One of the other random girls in the dressing room says to me in front of everybody, "Why don't you just stay home for a couple of days and stay away from Derek, and maybe he'll get the hint." And I thought, you know what, that's a good idea.
Sound advice.
Yeah. So it was Friday, April 7th. I decided to stay home from work. My kid had preschool that day, but I kept him home with me. And I think he was at his dad's house earlier that day, and then his dad brought him over, and then he stayed with me that afternoon and evening. Okay. And I get a phone call from one of my allies at work, and she's like, "Oh yeah, Derek's here, and he doesn't seem happy that you're not here." And I was like, "Well, he's just going to have to get over it, whatever, you know."
Yeah,
and,
have a sick day. Hello.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I don't have to be there for him. You know, I have a life too, whatever. And you know. And my friend and I were talking about it. She's like, "Yeah, it's probably best that you just stay at home and stuff." And I said, "I agree." I'm like, because he comes in for every one of my shifts, and he's always saying how he wants to take care of me and all this stuff. And it's kind of loony. And then I think at one point he told me that he loved me, or he was in love with me. And that freaked me out. So I was like, oh boy, we got a live one here.
Yeah. So, and what happens with like the people running, you know, the business? Like, are you good to tell them like, hey, I don't know what's wrong with this guy? Or they're like, well, he's bringing money, so it is what it is. Like,
I don't think I ever involved management or told anybody. I don't think I just.
You think it would have made a difference anyway, or they're just like, well, it is what it is. I mean, get used to it.
I don't know. Usually, like if I had an issue with a customer, they would be there to back me.
Yeah, good.
But I didn't involve them. I just didn't feel the need. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Yeah, because I just thought, okay, this guy's a little out there. If I just stay home, he'll get the hint and kind of like, you know, mellow out.
As far as how Derek was constantly telling you, "I'm only here for you," et cetera, et cetera. And you know, the foreshadowing is thick. There had to be plenty of other regulars that would come in and say kind of the same stuff, though. You know, "I love you and I'm only here for you." Oh no, I don't know. I just feel like people in an exotic dancing world that would happen almost daily. But I guess I don't know. I don't partake anymore as much as I used to. So
it's really not often that they come out and say like, "Oh yeah, you know, I want to." It's not that often.
All right. So then that might have been a red flag that you obviously were like, yeah, this is a red flag and I'm going to talk to her.
Yeah.
It made me feel uncomfortable, but not to the point where I'm like, "Oh, I'm getting killed tonight." You know what I mean?
Yeah, you didn't know. Yeah.
Like it didn't feel like we were at that point. I just thought, I'm like, this guy's coming in all the time. So I'm going to, you know, stay home because this is getting weird, especially when he's getting violent like that. So my friend and I get off the phone. I'm like, all right, well, whatever. And my kid and I, you know, he went to bed in his room and I fell asleep on the sofa like I usually did. And I think I went to bed around 1. And then at 4:51 in the morning is when I started having the near death experience. And what was happening was I was sleeping, and suddenly I heard these noises, and they seemed to come from like, they weren't physical noises that you hear just out and about. They seemed to come from inside your mind. And the noises were like, they sounded like a whirling mass, like a tornado swirling above my head. Okay. And then I heard this other noise that sounded like trains rushing down tracks on each side of my head. Like, I didn't hear like the whistles or the bells or anything, just like the tracks, like the trains rushing down the tracks.
Gotcha.
So I'm hearing these noises, and then these noises wake me up. So I'm like, okay. So I wake up and I try to move. And right when I woke up, I started hearing this buzzing sound, like a bzzz, and then I felt this vibrating sensation. And I woke up and I tried to scream or yell, and I couldn't get anything out. And I tried to move, except I couldn't move. I was frozen.
So it was almost like a sleep paralysis. Like you knew you were awake, or
I was awake. Like the way I could best describe it. Did you ever have a dream where you try to scream and nothing comes out?
Yeah, I've had dreams where I try to scream, nothing comes out, and I know I'm awake and I can't move my body.
This was more like it felt like that. Like when I try to yell, but I was awake when I was doing it. I wasn't sleeping and having a dream about screaming and nothing coming out. Okay. I was actually awake trying to do it. But at the same time, while I'm like trying to scream and move, I couldn't, because some force was already taking over and buzzing me out of my body. Mm-hmm. So it was a lot like feeling like a cell phone on vibrate. Like you hear the buzzing sound and you feel the vibrations, and I could feel my head and my chest and the rest of me separate from my body. This did not hurt. The only thing I could say is that the loss of control, of being able to control yourself, is what might wig people out at first. But I noticed that when I try to move, I realized I'm like, there's no stopping whatever's going on. So I might as well just relax. And that's what I did. And it made it a lot easier, like a lot less scary. And it didn't hurt. It was just a vibrating sensation where I'm like out of my body.
Exactly. So now your body is coming out, and what's that experience?
Well, my spirit's coming out, and like I said, it didn't hurt. It just was like a buzzing sound with vibrating sensation. And then I finally separated from my body. So my physical body's on the futon below me, but my spirit's starting, it's hovering by the ceiling. And it was like this wonderful feeling of being free. I felt really exhilarated, very much at peace. I felt safe. And I felt like I didn't feel any fear. And I didn't even look at my body down below, because I didn't even have any concern for it, really. It was just like I had become this energy, and I was so, enamored by what I'd become. I'm like, ooh, this is great. Like, what body? This is me. You know what I mean? And I felt like all I was this energy. And then I realized, I'm like, everybody and every living thing on earth has this energy in them too. And that made me feel one with everybody. And I realized, I'm like, everyone and everything deserves respect, because this light fills them. Yeah. And I was just hovering above, and I'm like, oh my God. And then I realized I'm having a near-death experience. Oh, wow, this is cool. And I mean, this is going to sound really weird, but it was fun. Just to like hover. Yeah. It felt fun. And I could imagine. I could see from like different perspectives all at once. I didn't have to turn around and look at where, because I looked around for people. There was nobody there. I didn't even see my son, and it was just like being in your room now, but you're just not in your body. You're just hovering above and feeling like this wonderful, overwhelming sense of peace. It was cool.
And just for the record, we weren't shroomed out that day, right?
I was going to say, this sounds like a really good trip.
I
was stone cold sober.
Good. I'm happy.
This was after, I think when my son was 2, I went out and had a wild night because his grandma was watching him, and she's like, go out and have a good time. Yeah. And that was the morning after was the day I quit drinking and smoking, and I didn't smoke. I quit smoking when I found out I was pregnant. But that's the thing. Like from being pregnant and having a kid, I really rarely drank or did any, I quit smoking. I quit the drugs I was on. I quit drinking. I'd only been out drinking a couple times. And then after that one day when he was 2, I quit everything. I'm like, I'm not going out to drink anymore. So I was stone cold sober when all this was happening.
So now your soul is above you. Does it come back down? How does...
No, the soul wasn't above me.
You were, yeah.
Yeah, I was above my physical body.
Okay.
And it didn't, again, it wasn't scary at all. And I don't, part of me feels a little bit funny about saying this because I don't want people going out and killing themselves because they want to escape their lives. Don't do that. You have to stay in life because this is what happened next. So I'm floating above and I think to myself, I'm like, okay, well, now what do I do? Yeah. I'm like, I have nothing to do. Like, what do I do? And then there is this tunnel that, you see up here, there's a window. This wasn't the place where I had it, but there was a window above, where my futon was. And in the window appeared this hole, this opening to a tunnel, a void that just sort of opened up. And I was like, oh, okay, that's the tunnel, and I'd heard about near-death experiences before, and I knew that some people would see a tunnel. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's the tunnel. And that's the thing, after when you're out of body and you're wondering where to go, once you have the thought, the answer will appear. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get lost. You're not going to wind up taking a wrong turn somewhere. Your soul just intuitively knows where to go because you're entering a realm now where there's truth. And there's no BS. There's no, everything is realer than real. And your consciousness is such that you perceive everything. Yeah. Nothing goes over your head and you see everything as it is. And this tunnel opens up and I'm like, okay, that's where I'm supposed to go. And I got sucked into the tunnel a little bit. And that's when I was I felt this really uncomfortable feeling of being overwhelmed and not ready to go. I was like, whoa, I'm not ready for that yet.
Yeah, because the tunnel was not, that was going to bring you into another world that could have been ended for you in the physical world.
Exactly.
Jack would have went through that tunnel head first, by the way. Just
out of, curiosity. I'm a splunker.
And just for the record, I didn't see anything in the tunnel just yet, but I did feel something dragging me in, but I was I'm not ready. And that's why I tell people don't commit suicide because some people are do you ever want to go back? And I'm like, yeah, but then I think of that moment where I just was not ready. Mm-hmm. It was so overwhelming. I would hate to be in that situation again. And that's what keeps me here. Cause I'm I don't want to have that feeling again where it's it's not my time. And I didn't get to finish out my life yet. So as soon as I was I'm not ready. As soon as I had that thought, I slammed back into my body and jolted up. And I was oh my God, I just had a near death experience. I'm but how? Because I wasn't even concerned before about how, but now that I was back in my body, I was what's going on here?
What was causing the near death?
Yeah. So were you doing a process of elimination, with sounds and stuff? You were making sure the fridge wasn't open just to make sure you're good or
That's a good question. Cause I had my cell phone on the table.
Okay.
Next to the futon. I grabbed my phone to check the time and to make sure. I'm was that buzzing sound caused by my phone? Infiltrate my brain or something? Picked up my phone. No, nobody called. Nobody texted. It said April 8th, 2006, 4:51 a.m. Mm-hmm. Put my phone down. So I'm okay. So I know it wasn't something else because I knew what was happening. And all of a sudden, outside my front door, which is right next to my futon, mm-hmm. I could hear at least two people. I heard footsteps shuffling and I could hear people approach my front door. They threw something at my front door that hit the front door and made this popping sound like fireworks that weren't detonating properly.
Yeah, one of those crackerjack type things or something.
Yeah. And I knew it wasn't a gun because there weren't any bullet holes afterwards, but there was at the time, my door didn't have one of those steel wrought iron doors over it, like a safety door or a security door. It was just wood. And they threw something at the wood door that put a mark on the front door.
Okay. So you had physical evidence of something being thrown that direction, at least.
And here's the funny thing is like when they were doing this, having come back fresh from the spiritual realm, I could sense people's energies really well. Mm-hmm. Like I suddenly had this like enhanced quality of being like empathetic to other people's emotions and picking up on other people's emotions. Okay. I'm sitting there like kind of fascinated and blissed out by what I had just been through. And here these people are outside throwing stuff at my door. They were scared shitless. Like they were the ones who were terrified. And this energy that was coming from them was just so evil and angry and most of all fearful. Like they were just terrified. I'm like, how ironic is it that I'm the one who's sitting here getting killed, but they're the ones who are terrified.
Exactly.
Right.
You know?
And you believe this was someone from the club, I would assume? Because
at first I was like, is Derek really that upset?
Yeah, well, you explained he was like some narcissistic, overprotective type personality. But when you worked, when was like last call? When was like everyone out of there?
Everyone was out of there at like probably 2 or 2:30. But see, I didn't go to work that day even.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to look at the time frame. This happened at 4:41. I mean, I'm not saying he stopped at like a Denny's and then said, "Oh, I'm gonna go throw rocks at it," but it is a possibility around that time where
I think they
anything
just
could happen.
Yeah, they were scheming outside the club. This whole thing. So I didn't know who. I mean, I had ideas of who it was at first, but I was just like, I don't know for 100% sure. Yeah. And then I'm just like, what do I do? Then I heard these people run off. After they threw the thing, they ran away. And if it were to be my guess, I would think that there were 2 of them in the driveway near my house. And then there was a 3rd person down by the street watching out for them.
Exactly. Yeah.
They probably had a car or something to get away in because I heard them take off. And I sat there and I'm like, so what do I do? I'm like, what do I do? Do I call the cops? Like, what do I? And then I heard this voice that came through to me like a strong intuition. And it said, don't call the cops. Don't call the cops.
That's crazy. That would be what the voice said. Don't call it, because typically in a situation like that, the first thought in my head would be call the cops.
Yeah.
The thing is that the cops would come over and they would see that with the exception of the marking on the door, nothing was blown up. There's,
yeah, they would just narrow it down. And, could have been a deer kicking rocks or some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's just like, they're not going to do anything but start a file.
Right.
Exactly.
And you're absolutely right. Yeah.
And I thought to myself, what I'm sure that whoever just did this is watching me right now to see if I know what they did. And if I have the cops over here, they're going to know for sure that I knew.
Now, can I ask you something? When you had this near-death experience, did you sense someone was around the property, or this was prior to all that?
This was prior. I had the near-death experience before they even made it to the front door.
Okay, because I was trying to think, like, was this something where you heard it and you were like, growing up, you were a little traumatized by everything and your body was like, that's it. Like, we got to shut down. Like, what's about to happen if something did happen.
I didn't foresee anything while I was having the experience. Okay. I didn't even know what was happening. All I knew is that whatever I was experiencing was really pretty awesome. And it was, it was cool to be floating and just swooping.
You weren't scared a little?
No, I was
not like your first time dancing.
No, it was nothing like that. I felt so much love and it was relief. Just mystical. Relief, safety. I was in a place where I could not be fooled or tricked. It was just really peaceful. And the scariest part of the experience was when I came back and sensed their energies. That was the scariest part.
Yeah.
But in that, I realized how much of a friend God was to me, in the sense that he took me out and most likely my son out too, before these people even got there. This way, if things did go through and the house did blow up, we would have been out. We wouldn't have felt any pain.
So it was almost like a message, like, you know what, if things were to happen, I don't want you to feel anything that happened to you previously or whatever the case may be.
And that's when I realized, I'm like, God did me a solid there. Like, and then I could see how much of a best friend he was. or she was. Because it was, I'm like, God just did us a solid. And I went in and checked on my son, and he was still asleep. And I was like, okay, I'm going to let him sleep. He's fine.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what we did for the rest of the day. I think I just tried to make everything as normal as possible. And I was even afraid to open the front door.
Did you make like breakfast and pancakes and acted like,
just everything was normal.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, we're going to stay in and play board games today. We had like this little memory card game we'd play and Legos and stuff like that. And I'm just trying to, because in my mind, I'm trying to make everything normal. On the outside, everything's normal. In my own mind, I'm like, what do I do? Do we call the cops? Do we go here? Am I being watched? I'm like, I just have to pretend that everything's normal in case I'm being watched. Like I had to act.
And that's good that you did that, because that wasn't the end of your NDE. There was a part 2, right?
Yeah. So what happened was that night I went to bed, we went to bed as usual. And I remember this time when I went to bed, I slept with my contact lenses in case they were to come back.
Right.
And I had an 8-pound dumbbell I'd work out with, and I knew that was over, where that was in case anybody decided to come back. But I remember that night I went to sleep on my futon, and I didn't even fold it out the whole way. I think I just slept with it upright that night for some reason. Like I just wanted to, but I had my contacts in and I fell asleep that night. And I thought to myself, that was really weird, because I had about the near-death experience that I had the night before, because I didn't see a light. And I'm like, What happened to that light? Like, was God mad at, like, what would I have seen if I had gone in that tunnel? Like, was God
fire and brimstone? Or?
Yeah, I know. I felt good, but, so I went to bed that night just wondering, why didn't I see a light? The very next morning, I wake up, and lo and behold, there's this beautiful bright white light appearing to me in my living room. And it was like an energy vortex that just kind of opened up out of nowhere. Like I just, I opened my eyes and boom, there it was. Mm-hmm. And this light came in, and it was beautiful and brilliant and powerful. Mm-hmm. And it was like looking at the sun, but it didn't hurt. And it communicated with me through telepathy. And it told me some things that were really, it told me the truth about my life, which wasn't easy to hear, but it was really important for me to know. And God spoke to me. It was like a bright white light, and it had like trillions of voices that spoke to me as one, but they were both male and female voices.
Right.
It's like this download of information and knowledge that just kind of like went into my consciousness. And it kind of just, it almost blows your mind a little bit.
I bet.
And it told me that my father was a very violent man, and that he raped and trafficked his children. And he did the same to Big Sis, and that was why she ran away.
Right.
And the next thing God told me was, now Derek was the one who was hired to murder you by Ken's wife. And I was like, Ken's wife? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It makes sense, because you're talking to Ken, then all of a sudden this guy Derek comes with these girls, and I guess the wife hired him to go there.
Yeah.
Look at that, detective.
Yeah. That's what happened. And I named her Karen in the book. Her name's Karen.
No one likes a fucking Karen, by the way.
Well, I know it might be a little on the nose.
That's perfect. That's a perfect name.
If the shoe fits,
Exactly.
So
I don't think there's any Karens that listen to the show anyway. So
no offense to good Karens, but man, I wish I could say her real name, because her real name's like Karen times a million.
Oh god,
really?
I can only imagine.
But this woman, I guess what happened was she found out that Ken was dating a strip, and Ken didn't tell me he was still married. He told me he was divorced and moved out.
Yeah.
And from my point of view, it wasn't like I was stepping on anybody's toes or hurting anybody, because I had no intention of doing that.
Yeah, you were the honest.
Yeah. So because he lied and she found out, now it's like we're the targets somehow.
Yeah. Right. And it's your fault.
And God saw all this and was like, that's why he intervened.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I even told God before I said in prayer, like, you're more than welcome to intervene in my life whenever you see fit. And I guess God saw that,
Damn,
that
Karen.
Yeah. So I finally found out what was going on. And then it came to me that, those 3 girls were also involved. That's why they were always like, oh, you should go out with him.
Yeah.
And they were like, they were just weird. They were mean girls, like, obviously, but they would do things at the club, like try to, I went and got my hair highlighted once, and one of them tried to convince me that it looked good when I thought it was too bright. And then I went in to get it corrected, and then she got all pissed off about it. Like, just stuff like that. It's like petty mean girl stuff. But God told me that, Derek was hired to murder you, and those girls were involved as well. And Ken lied, but he didn't mean to do it out of, any malicious or selfish. He
lied out of like he just didn't want to lose you, I'm assuming. Did he genuinely like you?
Yeah. It was a genuine connection. I felt that, he didn't want to lose me. And then God told me that she was very happy about the fact that, when I got pregnant, it was out of wedlock, and I didn't even tell my family about it till like my first trimester is over, because I didn't want anyone trying to bring up abortion or anything like that. Yeah, exactly. I was like, I'm not doing that. It's just, I'm the one who did this. I want to take responsibility. And I was really excited to be a mom,
Good for you.
So God, I had my son. I quit all the drinking, the smoking, the drugs, and took responsibility for my actions. And God was really happy about that. And God told me, you're to take the story of your life and create a Hollywood movie. This guy's going to be a director, producer. It'll be a history-making film. It'll win many Academy Awards. And the reason why I'm asking you to do this is because, you chose to respect life. Yeah. So because you chose to respect life, I'm going to allow your dream of becoming an actress, writer, producer, filmmaker, I'm going to let your dream come true.
Yeah.
Because,
Well, if you need any actors, Jack will pleasantly be the guy that wipes down the poles with the alcohol. And if you need me to play Ken or Derek, I will.
I need club customers in the scene. So,
I could be security.
As long as the bartender knows how to make Manhattan straight up, we're fine.
There you go. You guys can be. I'll be happy to invite you to be, if you want to be club, extras or customers. That would be amazing.
Sweet.
We could have Margot give you guys a lap dance.
Oh, a picture and an autograph is fine. You want to throw that in there?
No thanks. I'm married.
Jack pleads the fifth twice on this show.
I think even my wife would be like, "What, are you stupid?"
Yeah. Just tell her we're going to watch Sunday football in the middle of April. Don't worry about it.
She can come too. There were girls in the club too. So
I think girls have a better time than guys in the club. But
I've been trying to get her in forever.
Yeah. It can be fun. It's just for the dancers though, it's intimidating. Like, we don't like approaching females at all.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. Unless, and Ken and I would go to the clubs together, as customers together. And I would have to tell the girls right off the bat, like, I'm a dancer too. I get it. Like, you guys are safe here. Like, I'm not going to clobber you or anything. Cause some of these women get catty when they're there, and it's like, just go home.
They're Karens. These people need to go home.
I know. Go home and drink your Schlitz or whatever you're drinking.
Please, yeah.
Yeah. So how about let's get into the writing of the book. So Sedona Dawn is the author of Breaking Through to Heaven. What?
Busting Heaven.
Say it again.
Busting through.
Oh, Busting Through to Heaven.
Yeah. Busting through to Heaven.
Yeah, exactly.
Busting.
There's the book. Jack has the book. Oh, we're gonna need signed copies eventually. I'm just saying.
Yay!
But so what even made you decide to write this book?
Well, God told me I was to take the story of my life and make a movie. So at first, I tried to write a screenplay, and I worked on the screenplay since 2006 up until about 2015, 2016. On and off intermittently. And it was really good to learn it, and it was good to practice it. But for some reason, I couldn't get the screenplay to fall the right way. And one of the consultants I was working with mentioned that maybe you should write a book. And then other people started saying, you should write a book. And then I thought, okay, well, I need time to write the book, so how am I going to do that with like everything going on with work and stuff? So then COVID happened, club got shut down. I was finally able to get my unemployment stuff worked out with the EDD, where I was, at least getting some money to stay home or whatever. But because I was working as a grocery delivery person too during the pandemic. But finally, I had the time and the money to write the book. And we're all sitting in isolation and COVID, and all this stuff is coming up, and I'm just like, and it's just with. When COVID happened, I lost my job, my home, my car was in, in need of repair. I lost everything. And, all these traumas from my past just sort of came welling up, as I'm sure it happened to a lot of other people too.
Yes.
And I thought, I'm like, I got to get this out in a healthy way. I can't let like all my anger from, wait, this person screwed me over or that person fucked me over. I just come out in a
be professional
in a malignant way. So I decided, I'm like, well, why don't I share my experience through a book? Because if I write the book and put it out there, maybe the director producer will come across it, and then we can get together. Because I don't know, I know how to, I've been told I'm a good writer, but I would need to team up with better professionals who are really, who know what they're doing, who could take my story and make it into a from what I say in the book, from my story here.
Yeah.
Right.
So
how long did it take you?
It took me maybe about a year, but I wanted to put it out there because I feel, especially now with so many people passing from COVID, that there's going to be a lot of people who either have near-death experiences due to COVID or they lose somebody to COVID.
Yeah.
And I wrote this in hopes of comforting people, who've been left behind, who have loved ones who passed away. And I actually came across a couple people on Twitter who died when they were on a ventilator in the hospital. And they came back and now they're writing books too about what they went through.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool, like for all of us to talk to each other about what our experiences were, because even though they're all different, they still have some sort of common denominator sort of things.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
it's good to have that kind of network so that you're all looking at each other and going, okay, so I'm not nuts. You had one too, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's I mean, in ways it's kind of hard to talk about because it's like you want to talk about it, you want to share, but you're afraid that you're not going to be believed,
right?
That people are going to think you're nuts. And I understand the skepticism, like, okay, is this person all right? Or they just,
the skepticism I think is justified. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but there should, always be open to the possibility that we just don't know for sure, and what happens after we pass away or what this all means. I mean, we're just human.
That's right. And I understand when I start saying like, oh, a bright light appeared to me in my living room. Yeah, I'm going to sound nuts.
Yeah.
But
yeah, to a lot.
I'm not nuts. It's the nuts thing that happened to me.
Right.
And it's just, I'm 100%. I know it happened. So, I mean, and then people try to gaslight you on purpose. Like, oh, you're just having an LSD flashback or something, okay, well, I never had an LSD flashback that I know of.
Exactly.
And I know this from someone, and I know that whatever had happened to me, I know it was like 100% real. So, but it does help to talk to other survivors. Yeah. Because then you don't feel alone. Yeah, and then you don't feel weird. Because, I mean, it is normal to feel like a freak after something like this happens to you. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you would be weird if you didn't feel a little different from everyone else. I mean, you got to speak to the source.
Exactly. Yeah.
The only thing I said to the source was thank you. I mean, after because I was so awestruck by this light, I couldn't talk. All I could do was listen. And this light just downloaded like all this information that came to me. And I just sat there. And once it said, I'm going to allow your dream to come true, it faded. And all I could say was thank you.
That's how Jack met his wife. She was the light. And Jack just went in.
Yeah.
But during your times where you're writing this book, did you have to come to like a mental stop? I mean, because you're reliving your life. You're going back as a child and you're putting all this into play. I mean, is where there's time you said, you know what, I can't handle this. Let me go for a walk or something.
Oh yeah, I would. I lived by this trailhead when I was writing it, and I'd have to just stop what I was doing and go for a run.
Oh, you run? You're a runner? That's cool.
Yeah, I like to run. Yeah. It's really, really difficult to have to, to face what happened. Mm-hmm. It was hard to have to like go and every person I talk to who's going through something similar where they're writing something about what happened, whatever happened to them that traumatized them. It's really hard to go back and face it, but that's the only way you can heal from it is to face it, because you can't heal what you can't confront. Exactly. So by confronting it in a safe way where I could just empty out my emotions and write them out and take this horrible series of events that happen and create it into something positive and good that might even help somebody, like that's where the healing comes in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So and also, I guess, sorry, I was going to say, and also knowing that people that were doing you wrong are no longer doing you wrong. And I guess these people, the three girls and Derek, are no longer a threat or no longer capable of hurting you, obviously.
Well, yeah, they can't do anything anymore because I don't want to give away too much of what I wrote in the book, but I had to go back in and handle things right God's way. Mm-hmm. I'll just leave it at that. Basically, I just had to play the role and pretend not to know. Right. And then just let things play out from there. And sure enough, they did. But now it's like, it got to the point where some of those girls they won't even come near me because they're not allowed to. Mm-hmm. And right. It's just, they're scared because they're like, what kind of psycho would show up at work when she knows she's being murdered, or when she knows that we're trying to murder her. And they figured it out. They figured out that I knew.
Yeah. Right.
I made it known at one point.
Well, you're not
livid
with the life. Yeah, with the life that you were growing up in, you could definitely comprehend what was going on, what red flags were there. Like, this ain't a lifestyle you were never supposed to. Like, you knew something was up, and you could definitely narrow down what probably happened.
They finally figured out that I knew, but the thing is that now I'm not scared of death because I know what it's like.
Right.
And I don't think that they anticipated that I would have the guts to come in there and do what I did. Yeah. Like, they weren't anticipating that at all. They thought I would run or be scared and run away or something, but they didn't think that I would face them.
Yeah. Now, did you ever maybe try to go to like a medium and get some type of clarification, or did you ever go to a psychic or something?
Oh, yeah. I did actually. Right around this time, there was a psychic that I went to who was actually helping me out with a lot of this, and she was helping me handle them. And she was there for support. And I also, after my father died in 2017, I consulted with a medium because I didn't go to his funeral. My son, I asked my son, I'm like, do you want to go to his funeral? And my son had no connection with his grandfather because we lived on opposite coasts. And
yeah, you shouldn't feel no regret for that. No way.
My son didn't feel any connection with him. He knew he was a violent man and didn't want any part of it. So, right. I mean, I couldn't bring myself to go because it would be so triggering for me, to see my family again and to deal with him. And we didn't go.
The way you put it in the book was great. Who goes to their rapist's funeral?
Well, yeah. But the thing was, my father at the time of his death, like right before he died, he had his buddies, like his little friends. And then he contacted somebody from my childhood to email me and to call me. Oh, your father's dying. Oh, he wants all of his family together. Oh, he wants his dying wish. It's too late. And it's like, I'm like trying to, I didn't explain to these people at the time, but I'm like, you guys, he's using you as flying monkeys to abuse me right now. Mm-hmm. So I didn't answer anybody's calls or emails or anything. And they kept at it. And I'm like, stop. Finally, I had to tell them to stop. I'm not coming, Yeah. Made it real obvious. I'm not. Who goes to the rapist funeral? Exactly. So.
Exactly.
So we sat that one out. But I did go to a medium. And the things that she told me, she.
Will you share whatever you would like to feel comfortably to share? But I'm interested in hearing this.
she told me that he was in a place now that's a lot like Earth. And every little bit of suffering he put everybody through, he's feeling it himself right now.
Okay. So for eternity, he's going to be having, in the long run, he'll be suffering more than he'll be enjoying.
You get what you give in the end.
Really?
Love and respect all life, and it'll come back to you. And that's what I learned from my experience and from, what the medium told me. And he apologized. He owned it finally. He's like, I was a horrible father. I guess he told me that he went to jail a few times. Mm-hmm. He used to burn me with cigarettes. And he told me he knows that he wasn't a nice person and he's sorry. Yeah. And I asked him, I'm like, is it worth it? I'm like, you don't have to answer that, but that's a question that you have for yourself is, was it worth it? Exactly. So life goes on. It's just really weird. Like when people have near-death experiences, they see life a lot differently from someone who hasn't had one. And the way we see it differently is that life still goes on. It just goes on in a totally different way. And the place I went to, the state I was in, I hope to go back.
Yeah.
Something to work towards.
Yeah. And that's why I'm really excited about talking with you guys about this today, is because like this helps me fulfill my purpose. And it doesn't just heal my life. It helps me to heal my afterlife too. Like it's kind of setting up for my afterlife retirement. But yeah. And I learned so many things. I learned that like everything on earth is manifested from the spiritual realm. Like your podcast, for example, that was divinely inspired. And it's kind of funny because you don't realize it, but you just came up with the idea one day and thought, hey, this would be cool. But your podcast is divinely inspired and the book's divinely inspired. And I
started it when you were writing it because my listeners know this, but for you, I played softball 4 or 5 days a week. I was like one of those guys that work softball, go out to eat, but COVID happened. Couldn't play softball. I needed something to do. No one was going out. So I was like, let me try this podcast gig. And now I love it. It's like therapy.
Yeah. So. It's definitely our getaway and
I enjoy it. It's
now becoming a passion for real.
It is becoming a passion. Even though only 5 people are going to listen to this, but maybe one day we'll see.
Everything, you figure everything in your life and everything in life starts small and then grows. And expand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it seems like a lot of us are starting out new things, especially, with COVID. I think when that happened, a lot of things that were meant to end ended.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave birth to a lot of new things. Like when one door closes, another door opens, sort of thing.
I certainly agree with that.
And I'm a strong believer with one hand washes the other, 2 hands wash a face. So
what?
One hand washes another, 2 hands wash a face. So it's like I help you, you help me, and together we could.
There you go.
Yeah. But so we're getting towards the end, but we have this thing where we do Jack's final question. So it's gonna be a little bit of a hot seat, nothing crazy. Jack, are you ready?
Yeah, of course.
All right, let's get the intro.
All right, Sedona, if you could live in a movie for 1 week, what movie would it be?
Oh, wow. Oh, geez. Okay. Legally Blonde, because they have a cute little, like dorm for the girls, and the girls are all nice to each other. And
nice.
Cute.
That was a good
one. I would want to live there.
All right. Question number 2. What is your worst habit?
Probably worrying.
Okay.
You're worrying?
I'm learning not to be, because it doesn't really make any difference if you worry or not. So I'm working on that. And procrastinating.
And procrastinating. Okay.
I think that gene comes with every woman in this world.
Yeah. All right. So number 3, what is your guilty pleasure?
Oh, chocolate, Diet Coke, and Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Oh, definitely a Philly girl.
Definitely a Philly girl. Nice. All right. On to number 4. If you could have dinner with one person, living or dead, who would it be?
Ooh, oh God. See, my one living person, I don't want to give away who I'm doing the film with because I would sit there and try to pitch my film idea. So dead, I would choose Jerry Garcia.
Jerry Garcia. Sounds super familiar.
The Grateful Dead. He was the lead guitarist, and I would love to talk to him about like what it felt like for him to be in front of like millions of fans.
Yeah, there's an actual bar up in the Westchester area. There's a theater where they actually did perform, and the bar loved them so much they named it Garcia. I don't know the whole story, but the bar next to the venue is named Garcia's, as in for Jerry Garcia.
If Jerry came into my club, I would have given him a lap dance for free. I would have offered. Like he's the one dude.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. What?
Smelled, but I would have been like, it's okay.
He gets the golden coin.
All right. I have a very important question here. What fast food restaurant are you going to, and what are you ordering?
Oh, it's always Carl's Jr., and I'm ordering the Beyond Famous Star with cheese, no bun, lettuce wrap, no mayo, add ketchup.
Awesome. That is one of the best answers we got, because everyone's like, let me think. I don't eat fast food.
Yeah. Well, it's actually lunchtime, and I didn't know what to get.
It was important because I love to hear when someone says McDonald's. I'm a big fan of McDonald's. I
like their French fries and their ice cream cones the best.
You've been to a McDonald's that have ice cream that works?
Yeah.
Wow. All
right. Hold on. What do you got? A truck passing by?
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
No,
it's garbage day here.
It's all good. All right. So the next one, the biggest regret you can change.
Oh.
Filming it while garbage is going.
The biggest regret I can change?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I don't know if I have one. I don't think I mean, all the regrets I've already changed. So, I mean, biggest regret I can change. Oh God.
The next one on your list.
Maybe wearing boots to your ballet class. Give us anything.
I guess leasing a car. I should have just bought one.
There you go.
Nice.
This one should go well. The next one.
Biggest regret you can't change.
Oh God, that I even got involved with certain people in the first place. But then I think to myself, if I didn't, then I wouldn't have the story.
Right. So
exactly.
So then the regret goes away because now I'm the one who's like turning this around somehow. But biggest regret I can't change. God. I don't know if I have any because then I always think like, well, there's something good that came out of it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Huh? So I don't know if I have
very
any
optimistic, Sedona.
So the next one and the final question, your biggest pet peeve. What is it?
Narcissistic people.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. They usually go to the gym 7 days a week. I'll give you that red flag.
What's that?
They go to the gym 7 days a week.
Not always.
No? For a man, I would assume. I don't know. If they go to the gym, they're taking mirror pictures and they constantly post themselves. I always think that's a form of narcissistic.
That's one of them. I'm talking about like sociopaths and abusers and people like that, people who are predators, and they're I'm dealing with one now. I have to move out of my house because I have another one here. So it's like
they're everywhere.
Now I'm the one who's got to move because of this. So it just sucks because they turn up in your life. It's just you have to learn to set such firm boundaries with them. Yeah. And for all your listeners, I would encourage everybody, like if you haven't yet, go on a YouTube and look up narcissistic abuse and learn about it, because this way it'll save you your mental health, your emotional health, your money, your time. You know, it's helpful to learn the red flags of who is one, because
Exactly,
this way you can avoid them. I told my son, who's 20 now, I've been sending him videos and telling him, like, now that he's old enough to understand how manipulation works and what it looks like. Now that he's a little bit older, like I've been sending him videos and letting him know, like, this is what a crazy person looks like, and this is what they'll do, and this is how they manipulate. And if you see these red flags, run.
And that's a really good lesson to teach your kids. And it's one that parents really don't teach their kids anymore, which is, you know, I mean, I'm not saying you can always read people perfectly, but like you said, there's signs, there's things that I wish I knew when I was young that I didn't know. And so many problems I could have avoided had I had that, you know, one-on-one with someone who knew more than I did, you know, but.
Yeah. And I told him, I'm like, you're going to be starting off in your life where you're going to be finding partners and having kids and stuff like that. It's really, I wish I'd known this stuff.
Yeah.
Or, you know, because his father's the same, you know, has the same thing going on. Because that's what happens when you're a survivor and you come from a family like that. You wind up getting into cycles of it over and over again because it's normal to you, and you don't see like how it's not normal. Whereas a healthier person might see it and be like, "Oh, hey, that guy's he's bad news. I'm going to stay away." You know, it's just they can sense when you're easily manipulated, and when you're, you know, they'll make a target out of you just because you've got a heart. You know,
I hear you. I resonate very much with your story. I mean, it touches home for me a little bit more than I think just the average listener or reader. So yeah, I definitely get it. I get it.
I'm really glad it, like, you know, that that it was able to help you in some way.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm just like, I just want to, you know, help a lot of people out there. And I tell folks, I'm like, you know, I was involved with, you know, a narcissist, you know, a bunch of narcs, you know, they're out there. And it's like, it's really important, especially for parents, to tell their kids once they get to the, you know, maybe 18, 19, 20 years old, when they're about to start their own lives, like, make sure you are aware, you know, because I wish I'd known. It would have saved me a lot. It would have saved me all this, you know. Now it's like I have to take all this crap and, you know, and make something of it that's positive, because you don't want, you know, the whole goal of your life is to get back to heaven.
Right.
And I don't want to derail my life by flipping out and getting pissed. And it would be all it would be all too easy for me to get a gun and start shooting people. You know, I'm going to go after Karen. I'm going to go after Derek. I'm going to go after my mom and dad are dead now, but
right.
I have these siblings who are sort of taken over, you know, and I don't want to ruin my life or my afterlife by, you know, flipping my shit and hurting people. I'd rather just hold them accountable through writing.
Right. And at the end of the day, they'll get theirs.
That's right.
Everyone gets their just desserts.
Karma, baby.
Yeah. All in one fell swoop.
Right.
And that's why God is very efficient. This is why God told me to do things this way, you know, because it's just, all you have to do is put out your story and you take care of everybody in one fell swoop. And
well, enjoy.
And I'm glad he did.
Enjoy the story. Enjoy like going on, and you know, you got to read out your books and stuff, and just enjoy the life. Because if this ever does get into a movie, you definitely got to take this procedure of getting there. Like, oh wow, that was a great experience. You know, you're not going from 0 to 100. You're going to go from 0 to 10 to 20, 40, 50, and just build up. And that could be a story on its own.
It's all just baby steps. And it's just a matter of, you know, rather than letting the worst things in your life get the best of you, why not get the best from those worst things, you know? And that actually feels really good and really healing and really healthy to do.
Yeah. So
that's why I'm doing it. You know, I hope more people do it, because there's just too many people out there who are like, my life sucks. And if my life sucks, yours is going to suck. And then they go out and they do the wrong thing. And I want to change this trajectory here that we're on. And the only way to do it is just to be there, you know, is just to do it, just to show that it can be done, you know? So I hope other people come forward with it. You know, a lot of survivors are coming forward with their stories nowadays. And I meet with them on Twitter. And if anybody ever wants to Twitter me, can I mention what my Twitter handle is?
That's what I was going to get to. Mention your Twitter handle, we know how we can get your book, but go ahead and mention that.
Yeah, put your blog out.
My book is Busting Through to Heaven, and it's on Amazon. And if you'd like to tweet me or ask me questions, you can tweet me at Dawn Sedona, or you can just look up Sedona Dawn on Twitter and you can find me there and we'll talk.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, I have a special guest actually.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I have Karen, Derek, and Ken coming. No, I'm kidding.
No.
Oh, sweet.
Nah. Yeah, but no. Definitely, this was a great experience for us because this was one of our very serious interviews, which I know we had email confusion in the beginning. I didn't want you to make it think like I wasn't going to take anything serious, but I'd never done serious interviews like this, and this was definitely a learning lesson. Definitely a great experience. Like, I thank you for being on the show. I mean, we don't often get people to come out and be brave and talk about life like that. You know, a lot of people still, I mean, that's on them if they want to hold it in and bottle it. That's them. But I'm glad you came out with it and you're explaining it, because people got to realize that stuff like this does go on, and you're one of many, many, many. And I'm glad you got to share with it.
Thank you so much. I'm really grateful that you guys had me on to talk about it, because it does help to talk. But it's just something, it's just, I just want to say thank you for having me. And it's been fun talking to you guys too. And if anybody, you know, if you guys ever want me to come back and clarify anything, I'm happy to do that.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm good. Thank you again, Sedona, for being on. I appreciate you. And to the listeners out there, I hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so we're going to walk Sedona out and we'll be right back.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening to the UnFollowVic Podcast. To show your love and support, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at UnFollowVic. Cheers.
Wow, and we're back. That was that's a new one for us, man. I'm telling you.
It was a very humbling experience. It was a great interview.
Yeah, that's something where Sedona, she came on and she explained what it is for what it is, and you don't really get those type of interviews, or at least on this show you don't. We're not dedicated to stuff like that, and it was definitely an eye-opener.
Yeah. No, I definitely enjoyed it. It was great.
What did you take from it? Anything?
She's a good person. That it doesn't really matter what your definition of an afterlife is, as long as you understand that what's best for you in the long run is to treat others the way you would want to be treated, because
100%,
you know, that shit's gonna come back.
Karma's a bitch, right?
Yeah, karma's a bitch.
Anyways, yeah, I think that was a good one, but let's get into Vic's Monday Night Football pick. Whoa, week four, Monday Night Football. We have Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders are going to be taking on Justin Herbert and the San Diego Chargers. Las Vegas Raiders, they're 3-0. They're coming off week 3-0. They definitely have the confidence. They're going to be going into another big game, because San Diego Chargers, even though they're 2-1, they're just coming off a big, huge win against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to be a good Monday Night Football game. I think the score is going to be pretty close to one another. And this is going to be my prediction. It's going to be Raiders 24, Chargers 28. So I'm taking Chargers for week 4, especially with them being home. Jack, any last words?
Nail biter. No, I just want to thank all the listeners. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on UnFollowVic, Instagram, Facebook, kind of on Twitter. Definitely check us out. Spotify, Google, Apple, all that. Come on. All right. Peace.
Later.